Daily Words of God. No step is more crucial to entering God's words than quieting your heart in His presence. It is a lesson that all people are in urgent need of entering at present. The paths of entry into quieting your heart before God are as follows. 1. Withdraw your heart from external matters. Be at peace before God, and give your undivided attention to praying to God. 2. With your heart at peace before God, eat, drink, and enjoy God's words. 3. Meditate on and contemplate God's love, and ponder God's work in your heart. First, begin from the aspect of prayer. Pray with undivided attention and at fixed times. No matter how pressed you are for time, how busy your work, or what befalls you, pray every day as normal, and eat and drink God's words as normal. As long as you eat and drink God's words, no matter what your surroundings are, you will have great enjoyment in your spirit, and you will be undisturbed by the people, events, or things around you. When you ordinarily contemplate God in your heart, what goes on outside cannot bother you. This is what it means to possess stature. Begin with prayer. Praying quietly before God is most fruitful. After that, eat and drink the words of God. Seek out the light in God's words by pondering them. Find the path to practice. Know God's purpose in speaking His words, and understand them without deviation. Ordinarily, it should be normal for you to be able to draw close to God in your heart, to contemplate God's love, and to ponder the words of God without being disturbed by external things. When your heart has achieved a certain degree of peace, you will be able to muse silently and within yourself to contemplate God's love and truly draw near to Him, regardless of your surroundings, until finally you reach the point where praise wells up in your heart, and it is even better than prayer. Then you will be possessed of a certain stature. If you are able to achieve the states of being described above, it will be proof that your heart is truly at peace before God. This is the first basic lesson. Only after people are able to be at peace before God can they be touched by the Holy Spirit and enlightened and illuminated by the Holy Spirit. And only then are they able to have true communion with God, as well as to grasp God's will and the guidance of the Holy Spirit. They will then have entered onto the right track in their spiritual lives. When their training to live before God has reached a certain depth, and they are able to forsake themselves, to despise themselves, and to live in God's words, then their hearts are truly at peace before God. Being able to despise oneself, curse oneself, and forsake oneself is the effect achieved by God's work, and cannot be done by people on their own. Thus, the practice of quieting one's heart before God is a lesson people should immediately enter. For some people, not only are they ordinarily unable to be at peace before God, but they cannot quiet their hearts before God, even when praying. This falls too short of God's standards. If your heart cannot be at peace before God, can you be moved by the Holy Spirit? If you are one who cannot be at peace before God, you are liable to be distracted when someone comes by, or when others are talking. And your mind can be drawn away when others are doing things, in which case you do not live in God's presence. If your heart truly is at peace before God, you will not be disturbed by anything going on in the outside world, or occupied by any person, event, or thing. If you have entry into this, then those negative states and all negative things, human notions, philosophies for living, abnormal relationships between people, and ideas and thoughts, and so forth, will naturally disappear. Because you are always pondering God's words, and your heart is always drawing close to God, and always being occupied with the current words of God, those negative things will fall away from you without you realizing it. When new and positive things occupy you, negative old things will have no place. So do not pay attention to those negative things. You need not make an effort to control them. You should focus on being at peace before God. Eat, drink, and enjoy God's words as much as you can. Sing hymns in praise of God as much as you can. And let God have a chance to work on you, because God now wants to perfect humanity personally, and He wants to gain your heart. His Spirit moves your heart, and if, following the guidance of the Holy Spirit, you come to live in God's presence, you will satisfy God. If you pay attention to living in God's words, and engage more in fellowship about the truth to gain the enlightenment and illumination of the Holy Spirit, then those religious notions and your self-righteousness and self-importance will all disappear, and you will know how to expend yourself for God, how to love God, and how to satisfy God. And without your realizing it, those things that are extraneous to God will entirely dissipate from your consciousness.